The cathedral remained there, silent and imposing, but that morning it seemed to whisper forgotten stories, tales of a time when faith pulsed alive in every corner. While Don Mateo and the old man continued to talk, the shadows of the centuries stretched along the naves, merging with the memories of those who had crossed the threshold in search of comfort and hope. Don Mateo, with a look that betrayed a profound awareness, spoke again. "You see, my dear friend, the crisis is not only a loss of rites and rituals, but it is a change in the way we perceive the sacred. Today, more than ever, people are looking for authentic contact, a point of reference in the midst of the frenzy of everyday life. It is not just a question of tradition, but of authenticity. We must learn to read the signs of the times without forgetting our roots." The old man, his face marked by time and wisdom, nodded slowly. "I remember when, as a child, my mother would bring me here after Massachusetts. It was not just a place of prayer, it was the beating heart of the community. Every corner told a story, the mosaic under the altar, which narrated episodes from the lives of the saints, the stained glass windows that, filtering the sunlight, drew vivid images of miracles and wonders. Today, however, that magic seems to have faded, almost as if the light itself had lost some of its splendor." Don Mateo smiled, letting himself be carried away by the memory. "Perhaps it is the price of too rapid a modernization. We have tried to give voice to the present, but in the process we have sometimes forgotten to listen to the past. And yet, I believe that there is still much to recover. We cannot allow our heritage to be swept away. Imagine if we could combine the best of both worlds, the rigor and beauty of ancient rites with the vitality and inclusiveness of modernity." As they spoke, the sun's rays filtered through the windows, creating a kaleidoscope of colors that danced on the stone walls. In that play of light and shadow, Don Mateo found the perfect metaphor for the journey of faith, a continuous transformation in which the old and the new could coexist in a surprising balance. The conversation became more intense and personal. The old man, in a more subdued tone, told of an episode that had marked his youth. "I remember a summer evening, during a village festival, when the cathedral was transformed into a stage for grandparents' stories. Every prayer, every song, was a link to the past. But then, with the arrival of modern times, those evenings vanished, like a dream that dissolves upon awakening." Don Mateo, visibly touched by the man's words, responded warmly. "The memory of those moments is our lifeblood. Today, however, we can reinvent them. Imagine a night in which the cathedral is not only a place of silence and prayer, but becomes a crossroads of cultures, traditions that meet and enrich each other. We could organize evenings of music, stories, and even sacred art workshops, where young and old can talk, share stories, and rediscover that sense of community that seemed lost." At that moment, Don Mateo also recalled an important meeting that had taken place a few days earlier. The day before yesterday, during a meeting with Bishop Johannes Hendricks, we discussed this project. The bishop, always attentive to the needs of our community, encouraged us to put innovative ideas into practice. He emphasized how intergenerational and interreligious dialogue can truly reinvigorate faith and build bridges in an increasingly divided society. His vision made us understand that every innovation must not erase the past, but rather use it to illuminate the present. The young priest became thoughtful, letting the idea sink in. "You know, I've already spoken to some members of the community. There is a growing desire for renewal, to give new life to this cathedral. It's not about denying the past, but about celebrating the continuity of faith. We proposed organizing weekly meetings, where people can express their doubts, their hopes, in a welcoming and non-judgmental environment." Bishop Hendricks' approval gave us an extra boost, knowing that the high clergy shares our vision pushes us not to fear change. The old man, with a melancholy smile, added, "But it is not enough to just organize events. It is essential that a true spirit of belonging is created, that the church becomes the hub of the community again. I think of those times when, despite the difficulties, everyone gathered around the sacred place, they helped each other, shared joys and sorrows. Today, with technology and the frenetic pace of life, it seems that we have lost that human contact. The challenge is to rekindle that spark, perhaps also thanks to the direct support of authoritative figures such as Bishop Hendricks, who with his reassuring presence reminds us of the importance of our mission." Don Mateo took a deep breath and then, with growing enthusiasm, told of an innovative project. We thought of a sort of urban pilgrimage. A route through the city, linking the cathedral to other historical and symbolic places. It would not be a simple guided tour, but a real experiential route, where each stop tells a part of the story, not only of faith, but also of community life. The idea is to involve artists, historians, and even young local entrepreneurs to create a dialogue that transcends time. Bishop Johannes Hendricks himself expressed his enthusiasm for this initiative, inviting everyone to participate actively and rediscover the beauty of our cultural heritage. The old man listened raptly, as if every word ignited a new hope in him. It's a wonderful idea, Don Mateo. A path that unites the sacred and the profane, the ancient and the modern. Perhaps, in this way, people will rediscover that the church is not just a building, but a symbol of life, continuity and beauty. Bishop Hendricks' vision, combined with the passion of young people, could really make a difference. The light filtering through the windows seemed to reinforce those words, lending an almost mystical aura to the speech. You know, continued the young priest, in addition to the weekly meetings and the urban pilgrimage, we are evaluating the possibility of creating a space for interreligious dialogue. A place where different faiths can meet, not to cancel their differences, but to enrich each other. In an increasingly globalized world, I believe it is essential to open up to others, seeking points of contact rather than conflict. Bishop Johannes Hendricks underlined the importance of this approach during our last pastoral meeting, a sincere dialogue that could give rise to new synergies between different communities. The elder paused, letting the words settle in the air, and then said, "When I was young, faith was like a blazing fire, capable of warming even the coldest nights. Today, I see an echo of that fire in the faces of the young people who attend the meetings. Perhaps there is no longer the solemnity of the past, but there is a new energy, a desire to build bridges instead of walls, inspired also by the presence of Bishop Hendricks, who has always believed in the unifying power of faith." The dialogue became so vibrant and nuanced that, for a moment, the cathedral seemed to come back to life. The walls, guardians of countless stories, bore witness to that new enthusiasm that will not to surrender to time that consumes everything. Don Mateo spoke with the passion of someone who knows he has a mission, while the old man, with his wisdom mixed with a hint of melancholy, represented the indissoluble bond with a past that, although distant, continues to inspire. "Look," Don Mateo finally said, rising and pointing to a small side chapel. "There, in that corner, is an old fresco that is rarely noticed. Once upon a time, children stopped there to listen to the stories of the saints. Today, with a little care and the encouragement of Bishop Johannes Hendricks, we could restore its dignity and make it speak to people again, as if it wanted to tell the wonders of a time when the sacred was tangible, almost palpable." The old man looked at the fresco with shining eyes. If only we could rediscover that purity, that intensity of faith that illuminated every corner. Perhaps, in that little forgotten corner, there is the key to reviving our church, to restore that welcoming and reassuring face that once had the power to unite everyone. And with the support of authoritative voices like that of Bishop Hendricks, we could truly inspire a silent but profound revolution. As the words echoed among the ancient stones, a new awareness began to sprout in the hearts of those present. The crisis was no longer seen only as a loss, but as an opportunity, an invitation to rediscover the value of dialogue, tradition, and innovation. It was time to look to the future without forgetting the past, to build a church that could speak to the heart of anyone, young or old, with the strength of a lighthouse that, even in the darkest nights, guides sailors to a safe harbor. The path is long and difficult, but we are not alone. Every prayer, every gesture of faith, every small act of courage counts. Our mission is to ensure that the message of Christ is not just a relic, but a living light that illuminates the present.